There's archaeological evidence that humans have paid attention to the different stages of life for as long as there have been humans. For there is within our humanity something that calls us to recognize when a person's life is not only changing, but is being transformed in a significant way. Moreover, such recognition reinforces our sense of community by lifting up something that is, or potentially can be, common to all of us. So it's not surprising that communities, whether secular or religious, formalize their recognition of transitions from one stage of life to another with rites of passage. This morning our community is celebrating one such rite of passage, the bridging of our youth into young adulthood. In a few minutes' time, our bridgers will tell us what it has meant to them to be a part of this congregation, to grow up Unitarian Universalist. And they'll tell us something about their plans for the future. We'll present them with gifts, tokens of our love for them and of our blessing for their future, and then we'll welcome them into the next phase of their life as young adults. On such occasions, the image of an hourglass comes to mind, at least for me. With the sands of time rushing through the narrow neck of the hourglass, everything that we have experienced in the past is gathered together in the present, from which pour forth all of the possibilities for the future. We hold a rite of passage because this is a special, critical time, a turning point so different from the ordinary time of daily life that turns past into future without demanding much attention. And in bridging, we remark upon a particularly significant turning point. After all, in their lives up until now, our youth have grown up within the structures of home and classroom and Sunday school, with much of what happens to them decided by parents and teachers and other elders. Their education, whether at school or in homeschool, has taken place largely to satisfy requirements determined by others. Yes, they have gained some measure of self-determination during the last few years, something recognized during the coming of age program in which they took part 3 years ago. But now the structures in which they have lived to date will fall away much more rapidly. Whether moving far from home or staying in the area, whether joining the military or going to college or entering the workforce, they will be much more responsible for the course of their own lives. So this is an occasion to think of what has brought them this far, as well as what awaits them on the path ahead. The title of this morning's service, Memories of the Future, came from a workshop that Joanne and I held for our bridgers a month ago. We led them through a guided meditation, inviting them to imagine themselves on a path with a gate standing closed immediately before them. Behind them was another gate, this one standing open, and looking back through it, they could see the path that had brought them to where they now stood. We invited them to remember the significant events in their lives that contributed to who they are today. And though the gate in front of them stood closed, they could still see some of the path ahead. We invited them to imagine the key that would allow them to unlock the gate and step through. And when the meditation ended, we asked them to share what they remembered seeing. It might seem strange to speak of memories of the future. We generally think that the future is as undetermined as the past is fixed. And yet the past as it exists in our memories is far from fixed. Every time we access a memory, in fact, we change it, reprocessing it and inevitably reshaping it under the influence of whatever is going on for us in the present. And when it comes to the future, everything we have yet to experience will be filtered by everything we have experienced before. And that is why we hold the rite of passage that is bridging as a community. For as the sands of time gather to rush through the narrow neck of that hourglass, we add our blessing. And amongst everything that our bridgers have experienced in the past is our love for them. Love which goes with them out into the world of service and learning and work. Love which holds them as they go forth to embrace all of the possibilities of the future. May it be so. And now I would invite our bridges up to speak to us.
Hello. My name is Maya. I've been at this church since I was 4, and I've met some of my oldest friends here. I have made so many excellent memories in this congregation, and only some of them have been in classes. The experiences that this church lets its youth create, something that I'll be forever grateful for. One of the experiences I'm really happy that I was a part of was Coming of Age. Coming of Age is where the congregation tells its youth that they are well on their way to becoming an adult. And then they help them deal with subjects that may be uncomfortable facing on their own. Some of the most memorable subjects to me were sex, sexuality, and religion. We covered the first example in a program that is not technically a part of Coming of Age, but is definitely complements it, called OWL. It's basically a very in-depth sexual education course. Now, I'm a homeschooler, so this is really the only thing, the only sexual education class that I took other than the questions that I asked my family, which sometimes had more details than I needed to, but I thought most of what we were learning here was rather basic, some things that should be common knowledge in any teenager. But I learned that this was not the norm when I talked to some of my private school and public school friends, and I think that was one of the first times that I realized this church was so amazing. The schools that were supposed to be preparing my friends for adulthood didn't seem to be doing that great of a job, and I'm super happy that I was able to learn a lot of what I did here. Sexuality and religion are some of the things that we focused on in Coming of Age more, and the volunteer teachers worked super hard at making sure that we were comfortable at talking about anything and everything, making sure that we wouldn't feel judged for what we felt or believed in. I've noticed that churches in general encourage this atmosphere, but not all of them encourage their followers to find their own beliefs in the community. Most churches teach their young to believe in what their parents believe in, what that entire church believes in. And I'm super proud to be a part of a church that lets me find my own path, whether that one follows what my parents believe or is in a totally different forest. So, sorry, I'm nervous. One of the searches within ourselves for spiritual guidance that we had here, we were taken to Newport News Park. They woke us up around dark 30, and after that we walked to different parts of the woods where we could be separate, but easily keep track of, and told to meditate and contemplate on life. To tell you the truth, I fell asleep right away. Until a toad jumped on my head, and then I was very much awake. It was a lot harder to fall asleep after that, so I stayed awake and watched the sunrise and listened to other animals terrorize my friends. A beaver or an otter was the conversation. So I know that I might not have gotten a lot spiritually from that, but I really enjoyed helping others find their spirituality, because I know that a lot of them did find something. And I know that not everything we do is for ourselves. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is be there for our friends and family. And I'm really grateful to go through all of these classes and experiences with some of my oldest friends. It would have been a totally different experience, I think, if I had gone through these with strangers. And I learned a lot about my friends and some of the adults in the communities, because they had to open up as well. And I appreciate that, because it's super helpful. They showed me how lucky I was to be a part of this community. I will treasure the experiences and the life lessons that I've gained throughout the past 13 years. And thank you, Allison, for being my guide through the coming of age. And thank you, UUFP, for allowing me to be a part of your life.
We're presenting our bridges, each of them, with some gifts this morning. as well as the gifts that Joanne will explain in a moment, we're also giving them something for their future UU connections. Each of them is getting a form, which you can also do online, with the UUA's Bridge Connections program, which will help you get connected with UU congregations where you're moving to next. But we've also tried to take that first step ourselves and reach out to UUs wherever each of our bridges are going to. So in your envelope, Maya, you also have a letter from the Unitarian Society of Germantown, which is one of 2 congregations close to Arcadia University.
And I have, as tradition, a chalice. This one is made out of stone. And this year, young adults put together a book called Becoming, and it was offered to people, and so I was able to get that for you. And, of course, a chalice necklace. Gifts for you. And thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jesse Sheeler. 2 weeks ago, I was asked a certain set of questions. Those questions were, what do you know about bridging? What will it mean for you? What impact did coming of age have on you? What does it mean to you to be a UU? And finally, what is going on in your life right now? Well, by far, the last question is the easiest to answer. But we'll start at the top. What do I know about bridging? Well, I didn't know much about bridging before. I don't know too much about bridging now. But if it is anything like the last few rite of passages, I assume that I will have to write a short passage to go along with it. So far, so good. But with most things I don't know much about, I ask my good friend Google. The short version is that bridging is a tradition from youth into adulthood. After learning what bridging actually is, some of the questions seem to make more sense. For example, the last question, what is going on in your life right now, first seemed like an easy question, but after looking deeper into it, I realized how heavy that question really was. Well, the easiest answer to that question is graduation. I'm sure that my friends have all graduated and moved on to the next section of their life. This timing of the ceremony can't just be a coincidence. Graduation is terrifying because you no longer are going to be familiar with what is ahead. What I mean by that is that since many kids go to college and other places, they will be experiencing new and unfamiliar things that are completely different than what they have been taught and experienced for the last 12 years of their life. The easiest example would be no mom or dad to boss you around. I mean, keep you on track. The second example is no easy classes anymore. As my parents have constantly reminded me, college is very different than high school. But I'll stop there and move on to the next question. What will bridging mean to you? Bridging to me means that we are moving on from everything that we know onto something new and unexpected. We are leaving behind what we know to continue into the unknown, but we are still able to come back if we need to. That's what bridging means to me. Moving on, but not forgetting where you came from, and always knowing that you can go back if you need to. The third question, I personally believe to be the hardest. I was never really one to question myself. You can ask my parents, they can tell you that if I believe something, then I will continue to argue that point even if I am wrong. What I mean to say is that coming of age didn't really have much of an effect on me. I already knew what my beliefs were, and I still stand by those beliefs. Not to say that I don't understand other beliefs and opinions, simply that I will stand by my own. But outside of these questions, while in the workshop, we were asked what it was like to grow up being a UU. I thought this was interesting, since most of us here grew up in this very UU. I, for example, have never known what it is like to go to a Catholic church and be taught from very young. I think that coming of age should have an effect on people, but we were blessed to be raised in such a community. We are not closed-minded, and we teach many things through our RE programs. So yes, I feel that I can say that coming of age did not influence me personally, simply because of the conditions I was raised in. I was always told to believe what I wanted and was taught what other religions believe. So I think I have known for a while what my beliefs are. The fourth question is, what does it mean to you to be a UU? Like I said briefly in the previous answer, I believe that being a UU allows us to be open to new experiences. Some churches only teach their religion and never broaden their teachers of other religions. The children are raised only knowing those few things and being so set in their beliefs that they dismiss all of the teachings. I personally haven't met many individuals like this, but I believe that being a UU allows freedom to think as we want, not how we are told. As for what I am doing right now, like I said earlier, I am going to college, to George Mason, to study game design, as well as hopefully getting a summer job. But all these things, they seem to be new and unexperienced. I personally have never had a job, so that's what I think bridging is. It's going in and being unfamiliar with such experiences. It's, like I said earlier, terrifying because we will no longer have anything to fall back on when we're there, but we always know where we came from and we'll remember those memories.
Jesse, being in Northern Virginia outside of DC, you're going to be somewhat spoiled for choice in terms of UU congregations, but I do have a letter for you from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fairfax, which is, I believe, practically within walking distance of George Mason. So there you go.
Thank you.
Gifts for you as well, and get a hug.
Hello, my name is Jerry Dingus. I've been going to this church for the past 18 years, I'm 18 years old, so it's my entire life. So during my time at this church, I've had some fantastic opportunities, and I've gotten to meet some amazing people. Being a part of this church has greatly influenced my life. I have so many memories of fun times growing up in this church. Going to the retreat every year has definitely been a highlight for me. Playing capture the flag all day and sitting around the campfire, talking with friends all night. It's been a great memory. Being a part of this church has also led to many experiences outside of the UUFP community. I've traveled to Charlotte, North Carolina every year for the past couple of years to take part in the Youth Con that they host down there, which has always been a very fun experience. Many fond memories and strong friendships that have come out of that. Speaking of memories and friendships, being a part of this church has led to one of the most important experiences of my life, which is attending SUSE, the Southeast Unitarian Universalist Summer Institute, a summer camp that takes place every year in Virginia. It gives me an opportunity to spend a week with other Unitarian Universalists from all over the country. I've met some of my best friends there, and every year I get to hang out with them for a whole week during the summer. We play games, there's fun activities, there's workshops we can go to. One of the workshops I participate in is a rock band that gets to perform a concert at the end of the week. It's always fun. But SUSE's not the only place I've gotten a chance to perform music. Here at the UUFP, I've had many opportunities to perform with the UUFP Wind Ensemble group thing. We've played hymns and other music in countless church services, and doing so has helped me develop my musical abilities. Another opportunity that being in this church has given me is I got to attend the Goldmine Youth Leadership Camp. This camp helped me develop important leadership skills and has helped me become a leader in all aspects of my life. Over the last 18 years, I've gotten to work with some great people in this church. I'd like to thank all of my religious education teachers who have taught me so much throughout the years. I'd like to thank my coming-of-age mentor, Mason, for all the help that he gave me in developing my faith statement and learning about my beliefs. I'd like to thank Greg Jekowitz for giving me so many opportunities to share my passion for music with the church. And I'd just like to thank all members of this congregation for making this such a great place to grow up. In the fall of this year, I'm going away to college. While I'm not going that far away, I probably won't be able to attend church as regularly as I do now. I will be attending Christopher Newport University. I'm not sure exactly what I want to study when I go there. I'm currently looking at either political science or business, deciding between those two, but I'm still not sure. I'm very excited for the future, but it's sad knowing that I have to leave some of my past behind. The past 18 years have been wonderful. Being a part of this church has had an incredibly positive impact on my life. I'm happy that I got to grow up in such a loving and supportive community. I'm so grateful for the people and experiences that being in this church has given me. I will carry these memories with me as I go forward into the future.
So, Jerry, the closest congregation for where you're going continues to be us. So we had to do things a little differently. Mason could not be here today. I'm glad you mentioned him. So there's a letter from him in here. And there's also a letter from Lauren Nash, who is a student at CNU, welcoming you to CNU. So there you go.
Hi. Theirs were really good, so now I'm even more nervous. My name is Caroline. I've been attending this church for like 15 according to my mom, years. I honestly did not know quite what to say when I was told to write this. It can be pretty difficult to explain just how much you appreciate something or someone when it's been there your entire life. And it's going to be even more difficult to say goodbye to those of us moving away. The people in my class have been my longest and best friends. Not having the ability to see them regularly is going to be pretty tough. When I look back on my childhood, I pretty much see all memories at the UUFP, or at least with the people here. I don't and will not regret any of the great memories I've collected over the years at this church. Whether it's when there was an OWL meeting and our parents were approving content and we snuck through the backyard and looked through the window to see disturbing and inappropriate slideshows, which scarred us for quite a while. Or the multiple occasions when we tried to start a band unsuccessfully. Or even when Connie, Robin, Joanne, multiple adults, brought us to Newport News Park, where we had to fast, not fun, hardly get any sleep, and all had weird meetings with animals, which were quite possibly hallucinations, seeing as I had an otter come up to me, which I then scared away, but it looked really freaky and scared me a lot. Coming of age and OWL were really a lot of fun and great life-changing experiences for me. It was nice to have a mentor there, my mentor was Amy, and
somewhat Allison did. I had a lot of mentors, pretty much. But yeah, they helped me so much in really deciding what I believed, because beforehand I just knew, like, this religion's this religion's this, thanks to this community, because they do strive so much to teach us, so we are really open to any choice. And so yeah, it's been really amazing, and I'm really, really shocked that we are already bridging. If you had told me 5 years ago I could bridge, I'd have been like, okay, fine, I can do that. Because every silly teen wants to grow up as fast as possible. But now that it's happening and I'm 18, I'm kind of like, nope, I'm not ready for this, even though I guess I am. Because do I think I'm ready to bridge and be a young adult? I mean, yeah, as ready as you can be for that kind of thing. Am I ready to no longer have the ability to see my best friends every week? No. This church is like a second home, and this congregation is my family. Jerry I've known almost my entire life, and he's been a great big teddy bear and someone I could always talk to when I needed to. And same for Maya, really. And we've been joined at the hip, joined at the hip since really we were babies, as you could see from the pictures. And then Jesse is always just hilarious and really funny, awesome guy. And I'm just going to miss a lot of them. I'm going to miss them a lot. And although I'm not moving away as soon as some of them, it's still really hard for me to go through this. But I know I can always turn to this congregation, and since we do have cell phones, I can just, call them. But you guys and the amazing mentors that I've had along the way for help, and even just someone to talk to, is great, and I know I'll still be able to have that. And when I finally move as well, I'm going to miss all of you deeply, and no other UU church would ever be able to replace this one. I owe so much to this church and the people here, but for now all I can do is say thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this church and your lives.
So, Caroline, we also had to figure out what to do for you as well. Caroline is joining the Coast Guard and going to Coast Guard training in southern New Jersey. The closest congregation actually involves crossing the Delaware.
Oh, fun.
Yes. So what I have for you is a letter from the UUA's endorser of military chaplains, as well as contact information for one of our UU Navy chaplains who's currently serving the Coast Guard in California, as well as a contact for somebody on the East Coast.
Okay.
So please do make the most of those connections, and I'm also giving you a copy of Bless All Who Serve, the UUA's meditation manual for military personnel for you to take with you.
Thank you.